All right. Greetings in virtual land. It's David Leonard here. We're going to talk a little NBA, basketball, and fashion, and who else would I call or dial up or however it is we're connecting here. Dr. Tanisha Ford, Department of Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies at UMass Amherst.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here
Yes,
with you, my brother.
it is great to have you. So clearly, I mean, this has probably always been the case. I remember uh, when I was in high school, even, and certainly in college, uh, my friend and I, we would watch the NBA All Star game, and the Friday when they would introduce uh, would be like this fashion show, and so we would always be like, all right, let's see what suits uh, the fellas are wearing, or at the NBA draft, we would see like, all right, what are guys wearing? So this isn't new, but it seems like the last couple of years there's been a greater emphasis on NBA players and their fashion choices. Why
Exactly.
do you think that is?
Well, I think it's for a few reasons. One is that we also see more kind of crossover between NBA stars having relationships with like Hollywood stars. So if you're going to be on the red carpet with an Eva Longoria or a Gabrielle Union, your fashion game has got to be right.
Right.
I think part of it is the kind of relationships we see the players having these days, blog coverage, you know, forget about
Mm,
just the 24-hour news cycle. It's also the rise of urban blogs, and the fashion piece is a key
mm.
component of all types of blogs, from Nicole Bitchy to even things like HuffPo Fashion or HuffPo Style. I think that's the name of it. So there's also this tons of blog coverage on what these guys are wearing, and branding. Now if you want to be an athlete, it's all about how you create this total brand. And so the fashion piece, I think, becomes part of the larger branding effort. And all these things, I think, have combined to create another story around the body of athletes, which largely tend to be Black male athletes. So I think these forces come together to create a conversation that, frankly, the media is fascinated with. And that we are kind of watching the post game wrap ups to have a conversation about what they're wearing. To see what they're wearing and to tweet about it and to blog about it, etc.
Yeah, and I mean, what's striking, and I was having a little Twitter conversation the other day, and while there are a lot of reasons why I'm not really looking forward to this NBA Finals, and Game One kind of got me a little bit intrigued, but I realized through this Twitter conversation that part of it is the fashion game of, with the exception of LeBron and Dwayne Wade. Well, let's just be real. The Spurs are not. They're not known for their fashion game, which is interesting because Tim Duncan was actually one of the more outspoken critics of the NBA dress code, and in part not because of many of the things that were specifically targeted in the NBA dress code when it came about in 2005, but because he liked to wear his casual wear. And so it's interesting that we have kind of Dwayne Wade and LeBron James at the center of many of these conversations, and then you have the Spurs that are just, yeah,
I hear you. And let me go on the record for saying that I'm an Indiana girl, born and bred, very proud of it. Thank you very much. And so, of course, I wanted my Pacers to be in the finals, but that didn't happen. The NBA gods have other plans, but so we'll rock with this whole Heat Spurs thing. But you're right, the Spurs aren't really known for much action off the court of any kind, right? So a lot of people are already predicting like, oh, this is going to be a snooze fest. I think Game One proved that it will be an exciting series, but the fashion end is definitely in South Beach. The Heat definitely has the fashion piece on lock here. Now, Dwayne Wade is not necessarily my cup of tea in terms of his style. I mean, I applaud what the brother is trying to do, but I would say that LeBron and Chris Bosh definitely have captured my attention a little bit more. And I know you and I were tweeting after one of the Pacers games when we saw LeBron in that shawl collar tuxedo jacket. It was perfectly tailored. That thing was cold. You know, I instantly went online to see where can I find one so I can rock a similar.
Did you find it?
No, well, I kept finding.
Did you find it?
Men. I kept finding things for men. I haven't found a similar likeness for women. But you see here, I got on my hot pink prep school blazer today. Just
so we were just talking about your fly jacket there, and clearly someone didn't want the world to hear about the jacket and our.
Handle, apparently.
Exactly, or the competition was like, nah, we ain't having it, and they cut the call. Do you think? Yeah, I mean, who knows? So do you think NBA stars like LeBron or Dwayne Wade or good old Paul George with his beautiful green ensemble are articulating a new definition of black cool?
Well, I definitely think that something's happening here. And for me, what I think that I like that they're doing is they're changing the silhouette that we associate with the NBA players' suit. So if we think about, you reference like the good old days, right? How we used to watch these games, the series back in the day when it was the Pacers and the Bulls, right? These styles, they were usually the Steve Harvey suit. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That long, the suit with the long jacket, kind of ill-fitted, not necessarily tailored close to the body. It had a baggier style to it. And so I think that look made their black body read in a certain way. But what's happening now is with advancements in how we understand how to tailor for the big and tall body. You know, a body that we read as non-normative in many ways because of its large proportions. Now we're seeing these players wear the more European style tailoring that we would associate with smaller men like the men who are in Hollywood. So I think in that way they are challenging the presumptions of black masculinity that's very much tied to the larger, baggier, you know, Sunday Steve Harvey suit with the corresponding gaiters, right? They're challenging the body narrative that goes along with this. I recently saw a picture of Dwayne Wade wearing a pair of capri pants, of closely tailored capri pants. You know, I've seen Chris Bosh wear a full-on pink or fuchsia suit. And so I think the tailoring along with the color choices are articulating something that may not be within this trajectory that we think of black cool as coming out of like the jazz era. But it's definitely articulating something different about black masculinity, about how to tailor for a large black male body. And for me, that's an exciting conversation.
Yeah, the way you put it, it makes me think about Mark Anthony Neal's new book, Looking for Leroy, that they're articulating a style, they're presenting their bodies in ways that historically might not have been legible, but are transgressing what is presumed, what is associated, and what is desired in this space. Because to me, it's very much about also the NBA dress code, where the league sought to attract, to court corporate America, Wall Street America, red state America, by demanding that players dress like Wall Street, corporate, and red state America. And players have found ways, like navigating rule changes on the court, like navigating changes in the style of play. They've found ways to play within the rules, but do so on their own terms through an expression of their own creativity and individuality. So do you think these sort of movements are transgressive and redefining and advancing this new construction and articulation of black masculinity?
Well, my work deals with the politics of adornment, particularly for women, but I also do a gender analysis of this. And so for me, the dress body is inherently political. And so I do think that they are doing something that's transgressive, something that in the sense that it is transgressive, it is definitely a part of a larger tradition of Black cool, because that's what Black cool was all about. It was about transgressing boundaries. It was about transgressing these boundaries sonically, sartorially, spatially, moving beyond the bounds of Jim Crow segregation. So I definitely think that these men are a part of a larger tradition in which Black men have used clothing as a way to transgress certain social and cultural boundaries. And I think that now in the age of the internet, right, this transgression takes on a different form, and that it has different implications because we're getting to see their transgressive bodies more readily than we ever could. I mean, I can right now, if I wanted to, I could surf the web and find all the videos I ever wanted to see of the ways in which these guys have challenged the NBA dress code while still working within the confines of the dress code. So that right there to me has Black cool written all over it.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple layers of surveillance that are in operation. You have the league, you have reporters, you have us as fans. These are all spaces of surveillance and gaze, and here they are, responding and negotiating those different demands on their bodies. Because, I mean, Dwayne Wade's capri pants was quite a conversation starter. Yeah. And I mean, if you go on, listen to the radio, sports radio, and on ESPN, there was outrage, and my immediate response was, people are angry because they can't pull it off. You do work on the politics of adornment. Maybe I do work on the politics of jealousy, because sports media. Maybe that the politics of jealousy. It seems to be very prominent in responding to the clothing choices of everyone from D Wade to Kobe, or even Meta World Peace.
Westfield.
Westbrook.
Westbrook. Yes, there's always conversation about his clothing choices.
Well, and it really emerged. I mean, a lot of the conversation started last year with the Thunder, because Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were really offering something new, and people started linking it to nerd chic, and not only because of their glasses, but because Russell Westbrook was wearing his backpack, and Kevin Durant would wear his backpack, and they'd have different kinds of backpacks. One day it'd be Gucci, and the next day it would be, a Nike Sport backpack or something along those lines, like they were ready to go to school. And so I think those were ways to challenge this conventional articulation of what was expected. So
right. And what was an acceptable accessory for a man?
Yeah. Right. I mean, people have talked about Chris Bosh when he walks around with his handbag. People are like, "What's that?" And that goes to exactly what you're saying. So it's clear everyone should tune in on Sunday to see what players are wearing, and while clearly us fans aren't under the similar levels of surveillance and gaze, I guess we should step it up and wear something nice while we watch the game.
Yes, let's do that. We'll make that
All right.
Sunday night sharp.